At the end of the day, I just wanted to help people, help my community. So teaching provided that opportunity.
At that point in my life, I didn't think there was any way for me to fund a college education. But Springfield, Massachusetts had a wonderful program called Project Spirit, which was a collaboration between the Urban League and Springfield College. And so I applied and was accepted and earned the scholarship, and so was able to attend college and graduated 2001, and sort of the rest is history.
I just wanted to teach students differently than the way I was taught, especially students who have been marginalized by the system.
Some of the people that came in extremely quick, to my support and helped me through were my teachers at the time, past and present. And it was kind of like a community aspect when that happened. And so when I felt that initially, I was like, teaching is definitely a strong profession that I want to go into because I felt supported.
So I always knew I was going to work strictly in business and dealing with money. But when I went to go for jobs in my senior year in college, I was offered jobs, and nice jobs. One in particular was an underwriter position with Liberty Mutual Insurance. And then before I answered them, I said, let me think about it. I went to a college fair in Boston with our advisors from Westfield State, because I minored in education. I said, let me just put something behind me to back me up. And I went to Boston, and every state outside of New England offered me a teaching position. And I just felt like, wow, I feel like I'm getting recruited like an athlete. So I started my teaching career in Newport News Public Schools in Virginia, and I just haven't looked back.
I remember one particular time where I know I wanted to become a teacher was in 9th grade at Hartford High. And I was in Miss Moore's cooking class. And we were mixed with other kids from other grade levels at the time. And she asked us to read, she asked one particular student to read a recipe out of a cookbook for French toast. And I remember the guy, I could see him to this day, and he went to read that recipe and he stuttered over a few words and kind of got mixed up, and everybody started laughing. He stormed out, and I think it was at that point that it hit me that I wanted to become a teacher, because I couldn't understand how someone in the 12th grade got that far without learn how to read fluently.
When students see teachers of color, they think, oh, I could be that person. I could have impact on students' lives as well. And beyond that, even or more importantly, I would say white students, right? And when they see a teacher of color, we help break down stereotypes.
I have had Black parents who are like, when my child came home, I was so excited to find out that you're a Black teacher teaching math.
You know what, that could be me. And that's mainly what teachers are as well. They're the people that are the closest profession to the community, essentially, because those are the people that you see every day, all the time. And if you see someone that resembles your characteristics, you're gonna be like, oh, I could be in that role as well, versus maybe seeing, okay, this is a role that's more for these types of people. I can't be that. I don't see anybody that looks like me in that role.
It was very important that I saw someone that looked just like me, a Black male, that lived in my community also, that taught me, and he and them reinforced what I learned at home. So it's extremely important for children of color to see people that look like them in the field of education. All the research shows that when children of color have someone of color in their classroom, especially in the early school years, the chances of them being successful increases by like 70%, especially for a young man.
When I first became a teacher, I looked like I was 12. So right away, they went right towards me, man, and it was such a powerful feeling knowing that kids can see someone that they can look up to that wasn't, in jail or selling drugs or in trouble, as a Black man. And so I think it's extremely important that they see someone in this role that they can aspire to be, because it's such an important role to be in. So I think it's been not only phenomenal for children of color, but for other children as well, right? I was a principal at a magnet school, and I had all types of students coming in to see me in that role. It was really very powerful. It can be a powerful thing.
Moving to Connecticut, it was just like, where are we? We just don't exist. And we get exhausted because we're drained, we're cherry-picked, and we're just not included just on the onset of education. So it has been like a personal fight for me right now as I'm progressing in my career, to sit at the table and to make sure that we are hiring minorities of color. And then in those spaces where we're not, I'm just going into other spaces and creating those opportunities.
So there are lots of challenges. There is this assumption that oh great, we've got a black teacher, we're going to give you all the students that really struggle because you'll be able to connect with those students. And so it becomes where all the kids who have all these difficulties are placed in your classroom. And listen, I don't turn children away, I don't throw children away. So whoever you got for me, I'm going to take that child.
Because you are black, it's only assumed that you can teach in urban districts. That's a challenge. So when you go and apply for a job in a suburban district or a rural district, look at my name, Chaka. How many people are going to pull my application up? So, but having doctor in front of it, they're like, oh, okay, maybe she has something to offer. But just that's an issue, that's a problem, right? So they just assume that you're only qualified to teach in an urban school district.
There's the microaggressions that having to hear, and usually other teachers don't specifically talk about teachers, but they talk about the students. So hearing the microaggressions of the students can be very challenging and actually disheartening. And then especially with the implicit biases with administration, where I've been talked over. I have given ideas and the ideas haven't been readily taken. I've actually had ideas that were taken and not given a credit to me, So there's many challenges that I think that we face as Black people in general. But as educators, there's very few of us nationwide, let alone here in the state.
You become the cultural teacher for everybody in your position, everybody in your school, as well as your content. And so a lot of times you're decoding and you're trying to make people understand how students of color who may come from a certain background will treat people in authority. And trying to break down those barriers. You become that teacher, and then you also, again, have to teach math, language arts.
Them sometimes being the only one in their building, and sometimes being the one who have to carry the weight of all, being responsible for anything that happens to us as a race, and being the spokesperson for it. That can be a challenging mountain to climb as a teacher. That's one of them.
I do know that I have some, other skills, or I call it value added as a Black man. So yeah, I might be able to talk to that brother a little differently or speak to him on the side, but that's something that should occur organically. Just because he looks like me doesn't mean immediately, we're going to connect. And you can't just send a little sister to me because she looks like, my cousin or something. We may not have a connection. Like, relationships are important. So white teachers shouldn't get off the hook. They should form relationships as well.
They think you connect well with them being like that, so you get like the harder jobs. We see that in our school system a lot at the teacher and principal levels in different districts across the country, where they put all of the minority principals and leaders and administrators and teachers in tough neighborhoods and tough situations, and they're not put in the suburb communities, so to speak.
Nationally, people are constantly blaming teachers for all the ills of society. And I think if we changed that narrative and really promoted teaching for the honorable profession it is, we could definitely pay teachers better. Definitely, teachers are definitely underpaid.
To ensure that more students of color join the teaching profession, honestly, I would say in our suburban districts, hire more teachers of color, start to change the curriculum, start to make sure that parents who are in suburban districts feel comfortable being in that district. And then I would say, as much as we need to balance the financial formula for school districts, we need to equally balance out the racial balances in districts. So we should not have more teachers of color in urban districts than we have in suburban and rural districts. It should be equally balanced out. then I would push that up to administrators, and I would equally push that up to superintendents, because we have 1% of our superintendents within Connecticut are superintendents who are Black, and then less than that who are women.
You know, the work of increasing the number of Black and brown teachers in Connecticut is ongoing, and it's critical work, it's important work. In addition, the work of making sure that we have female superintendents too. I think that's an important piece of work as well. But Black and brown teachers, it's critically important. What we're trying to do, and now under the direction of Chief Talent Officer Dr. Shawanda Tucker, we're really looking at programs that are systemic. We want to do the traditional approaches, which is reaching out to HBCUs and making sure we have connections with those folks to try to get candidates over here to Connecticut. But we're also looking at strategies that allow for new teachers to have incentives to live in their community. We're really excited about a Grow Your Own program where we're systematizing it, for lack of a better word, just to make sure that it's just not a one-off, where we have a program called Educators Rising that is being adopted in, I think it's 10 different communities in Connecticut, and we're really going to push it aggressively because, you know, there are Black and brown children in our classrooms, and many times they don't see themselves as teachers. We need to really have them think of themselves as teachers. We also have many para-educators and other classified staff that do amazing work in our schools. We need to give them the opportunity and the pathway to become teachers.
Really giving teachers, whether they're Black or white or, you know, any other community or any other culture, it's giving them that understanding that we have to teach from a culturally responsive way. Really starting to understand the students who they are, not always talking about, you know, oh, if the students just tried harder. It's really coming from what is the teacher doing in front of the classroom? How is the teacher engaging students? And as we come along, of course, we want to get more teachers for that representation. But I think that even teachers who are white have to start teaching from that culturally relevant mindset.
I know that in previous years, they've said that we should definitely go down to the HBCUs and try to recruit more teachers in other areas and try to make it so that certifications in other states are more reciprocal to Connecticut, and so that makes, you know, people who are already in the teaching profession moving up to Connecticut a little bit easier to get that role, as opposed to having to go through a lot of red tape to do it.
Certification is one of the issues. It's probably the most important one. The assessment is important, but we have to figure out ways that we can do alternative assessments, if that's the case to be. Only way you can determine whether a teacher is good or not is actually see them in practice.
We need to have a real concerted effort and a real plan. When we attract you and we bring you, we don't just bring you here, woo you, and drop you in a school. We actually are there to support you and support you easily through the first few years.
As you've seen, you know, going through this COVID crisis right now, you better believe that people appreciate the role of educators more, right? So I think Connecticut needs to make sure that, you know, we're compensating well, we're making the job attractive, we're recruiting at HBCUs and other places around, you know, the nation to get people to do it.
It's not only important that we offer this for all students in Connecticut, but to me it symbolizes the door being open on something that should have happened a long time ago. Mm-hmm. For far too long, our students of color have walked through our schools and not really feel like they connected to any of the materials or to the content. And I'm not talking about the token Hispanic Heritage event or the Black History Month celebration or the, you know, the off-the-shelf Martin Luther King essay. I'm talking about embedded curriculum that shows Black and brown people and their positive contributions to the development of our country. And when students see themselves in the materials, they're more likely to feel like schools are for me. I can connect here. Maybe I'll consider a career in education. And I think you can't separate the two. If we have a good quality program that allow our students to see themselves in the curriculum, there's a greater likelihood that they're going to feel like these schools are made for them. We have to be innovative, we have to be creative. I feel like we have the diversity in our schools. We need to do a better job connecting those students and saying, these are your schools, these are your communities. How do we support you to become a teacher?
Being a teacher of color has many benefits. You can support yourself, family, and community. You can also qualify for student loan forgiveness. But the best part of being a teacher of color is the opportunity to positively impact the lives of young students who look like you and live in color.